Do you feel like you've wasted too much time? What past mistakes haunt you? Buddhism teaches us that every moment is a new opportunity. It doesn't matter how many times you've fallen or how much you've left behind. What matters is what you do now. This video isn't just about understanding Buddhism. It's about discovering how you can change your life today. Get ready for 8 powerful teachings that can reignite the spark you thought was gone. Because it's never too late to start again. It's never too late for you. Do you feel stuck in the past, weighed down by regrets? What if today could be your fresh start? Buddhism teaches that every moment is a new beginning, and your transformation starts now. Hit play to discover 8 life-changing Buddhist lessons that will help you reignite your spark and step into a brighter future. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss wisdom that could reshape your life. Chapter 1. The Power of Now. How Buddhism Connects Us to the Present. One of Buddhism's most transformative teachings is this: the only real moment we have is now. Everything else, the past and future, are mental constructs, memories, expectations, ideas. But the only thing that truly exists is this instant, this moment where you breathe, where you're listening to these words. Buddhism teaches that all suffering arises from resisting what's happening now or clinging to what has already passed. When we don't accept the present as it is, we fight against reality, and that constant struggle generates anxiety, frustration, guilt, and sadness. The antidote is as simple as it is profound: return to the present. This isn't abstract or esoteric. It's as practical as stopping your mind from running through everything that went wrong or everything you fear might go wrong. Being present means observing what you're doing, tasting your coffee without distraction, listening without planning, your response walking without rushing, feeling each step instead of focusing on the destination. One of Buddhism's most powerful practices is mindfulness or mindfulness meditation. It's not a trend or a productivity hack. It's a millennia-old tool that helps you inhabit your own life, because most of the time, we're not truly in our lives. We're trapped in a mental movie where everything happens except our own presence. The great Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh said, "The miracle is not to walk on water, but to walk on earth, fully aware, feeling alive, breathing, feeling the sun on your skin." That level of presence completely changes your relationship with the world and yourself. Here's something important. Many people believe it's too late to change their lives because they feel they've wasted years in sadness, pain, or fear. But the present is so powerful that it can break that chain in an instant. All you need to do is return to now. Be present with yourself. Feel without judging, breathe, come back. You don't need to understand all of Buddhism to apply this. You just need to pause and observe. Every time you stop, every time you breathe consciously, you cultivate a new way of living. You build a freer version of yourself. The present isn't just a refuge, it's a door to transformation. Because if the past is gone and the future doesn't exist, the only thing that can change your life is what you do now. And in this now you can choose to forgive yourself, to let go, to begin again. That's the beauty of Buddhism. It doesn't demand dogmas or affiliations. It simply invites you to look deeply. And when you do, you realize it's never too late, because the now is always waiting for you. Always available, always new. Chapter 2. Leaving the Past Behind. Forgiveness and Inner Liberation. One of life's biggest obstacles is the weight of the past. The wounds we carry, the mistakes we don't forgive, the guilt we won't release. Buddhism is clear on this. Clinging to the past is unnecessary suffering. We can't change what was, but we can transform what we do with it. We can free ourselves. From a Buddhist perspective, everything we experience can be a doorway to awakening, if we know how to look at it. Difficult experiences aren't denied or forgotten, they're integrated and accepted. And through that acceptance, something profound happens. We begin to heal. A key concept here is forgiveness, not as a moral obligation, but as an act of understanding. When we realize that everyone acts from ignorance or unresolved pain, we can start to see even those who hurt us with compassion. This doesn't mean justifying harm. It means letting go of pain that no longer belongs to us. But the hardest and most necessary forgiveness is self-forgiveness. Buddhism reminds us that we are human, on a path of learning, and that mistakes don't define us. What defines us is what we do with those mistakes. Do we let them bury us, or do we use them as lessons to grow? There's a well-known Buddhist story about 2 monks crossing a river. On the shore, a woman asked for help, something their vows forbade. Yet one monk carried her across. Hours later, the other monk angrily said, "You shouldn't have carried her." The first monk replied, "I left her on the shore hours ago. You're still carrying her." This is how many of us live, carrying situations, people, and mistakes that are already gone. But the present has no room for that. The present can only flourish if you release what no longer exists. A powerful Buddhist practice is the forgiveness meditation. In silence, with an open heart, repeat phrases like, "I forgive myself for not knowing better. I release resentment. I choose to let go." These simple words have a transformative effect when spoken honestly, because when you forgive, when you release, something inside you lightens, you breathe deeper, you see the world with softer eyes, and slowly, the past stops being a prison and becomes a teacher, one who no longer hurts, only guides. The key? You don't need to wait for others to change. You don't need perfection. You can forgive now, you can let go now, you can start fresh now, because that power lives within you. You just have to take it. Chapter 3. Daily Rebirth. Every day is a new life. At the heart of Buddhism is a powerful truth we often forget. Every sunrise is a chance to begin again. Rebirth isn't a one-time event or something that happens after death. In Buddhism, it's a constant process. We're reborn with every decision, every thought, every breath. Most people live their days on autopilot, doing the same things, feeling the same ways, thinking the same thoughts. But Buddhism invites you to wake up. And waking up means realizing your life isn't defined by who you were, but by who you choose to be now. Each morning is a blank page. It doesn't matter how many times you've failed or if yesterday was a disaster. Today you can act differently. Today you can see with new eyes. Today you can be more patient, more compassionate, more free. The Buddha taught that real change doesn't come from grand revolutions, but from small acts of awareness. A different choice, a kinder word, a moment of presence. These every day. Moments are seeds of transformation. Many Buddhist teachers start their day with a simple intention. Today, I won't let anger control me. Today, I'll act from compassion. Today, I'll remember life is a gift. This kind of intention shapes not just your day, but your character. Because you are not your habits. You are what you choose to cultivate. Rebirth doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. It means allowing yourself to be new, with your wounds, mistakes, and grief, without dragging them like a sentence. It means integrating them as part of your path. Buddhism teaches that every morning we should ask, what can I offer today? Who can I serve today? This shift, from focusing on what's missing to what you can give, transforms your day from the first moment. And when you live this way, something profound changes inside you. The sun rises every day, not to repeat the same things, but to give you another chance, another opportunity to be yourself, more aware, more present, more authentic. Never underestimate the power of a new day. That's where real transformation happens, in these small beginnings that seem insignificant but are actually enormous, because Buddhism doesn't ask you to be perfect, it asks you to be free, and every day is an open door to that freedom. Chapter 4. Compassion as the Path to Change. In Buddhism, one quality is considered essential for inner transformation and true wisdom: compassion, not as an occasional act, but as a way of being, a way of seeing, a way of living. Many believe change requires willpower, sacrifice, or extreme discipline. But Buddhism offers another path, quieter, deeper, and more sustainable: compassion for yourself and others. When you treat yourself harshly, judging, criticizing, punishing, you disconnect from yourself. And that disconnection keeps you stuck. The S.T.O.P. Buddha taught that no one is freed through punishment or guilt. True transformation happens when we treat ourselves with the same tenderness we'd offer a wounded loved one. That tenderness is compassion, and it starts at home. It starts with you. Maybe no one ever told you, but you can embrace yourself, you can console yourself, you can acknowledge your pain without denying it. You can tell yourself honestly, I'm doing my best with what I have and know. That simple act of understanding can crack the armor of self-demand. It lets in light. Compassion also lets us see others differently. Instead of reacting with anger, we can see their suffering, recognizing that even harmful actions often come from unresolved wounds, ignorance, or unmanaged fear. This doesn't mean justifying harm. It means understanding. And in understanding, we lower our weapons. In Buddhism, there's a practice called metta, loving kindness meditation. You start with yourself, then extend it to someone you love, a neutral person, someone you're in conflict with, all beings. You repeat phrases like, may you be happy, may you be at peace, may you live with ease. This practice isn't just a nice intention, it literally rewires your mind. It dissolves resentment, it opens the heart, and that transforms you. Here's a deep truth. You can't change from hate, Not hate for others nor hate for yourself, but you can change from compassion, because when you treat yourself kindly, you create an inner space where clarity, patience, and balance flourish. It's like tending a garden. If you water it, protect it, and give it light, it will grow. Compassion is also an act of resistance. In a world that values competition, ego, and image, choosing compassion is brave. It means seeing humanity in others, even those who disappoint you, even those who think differently, even yourself when you fail. Buddhism teaches that compassion isn't weakness. It's power. The power to hold pain without fleeing. The power to accompany without judging. The power to keep loving when it'd be easier to close your heart. And perhaps most importantly, compassion brings peace. Not a superficial peace, but a deep one, independent of circumstances. A peace that lets you walk lighter, more present, more joyful. If you want to change your life, start by treating yourself well, speaking to yourself with respect, giving yourself the same care you give to those you love, because from there everything else becomes possible. That's the Buddhist revolution, not fought with shouts or force, but gently, from the heart, and it's unstoppable. Chapter 5. Non-attachment. Letting go of what you no longer are. One of Buddhism's most powerful and misunderstood teachings is non-attachment. To some, it sounds like coldness or indifference, as if it's about cutting emotional ties or not loving. But true non-attachment isn't about stopping feelings. It's about stopping unnecessary suffering from what we cling to. And far from distancing us from life, it brings us closer to it. From a Buddhist perspective, everything changes. Nothing stays. People, emotions, situations, even our bodies, all shift. And if we cling to something expecting it not to change, we suffer because we're fighting reality itself. But non-attachment doesn't mean renouncing love or living without connections. It means loving without possessing, being present without demanding, enjoying without depending, appreciating what you have without fearing its loss. And when you understand that, it liberates you. Clinging isn't love, it's fear. And everything we hold on to out of fear ends up suffocating us. Relationships, ideas, habits, even identities. Often we keep repeating who we were, what we did, what we believed, because we're afraid to let go. But if the cocoon doesn't break, the butterfly never emerges. Buddhism invites you to release what you no longer are, to leave behind old versions of yourself, to not define yourself by mistakes, achievements, or history, because you're not a static photo. You're a river in motion. And the more you cling, the further you drift from your natural flow. What are you clinging to now? A relationship that ended? An idea of success that keeps you from enjoying life? Image of yourself that no longer fits? Non-attachment isn't a violent act, it's an act of clarity. It's looking at what weighs you down and saying, "Thank you, you've served your purpose. Now I can move on without you." And here's where practice becomes real. It's not theory. It's noticing when something hurts and asking, "Am I suffering because of what is, or because of what I refuse to let go?" Often the answer is clear. Suffering comes from attachment to what was, to what we wish had been, to what we won't accept. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting or not feeling. It means allowing things to follow their course without forcing them to stay. It's trusting that when something leaves, space opens for something new, and that requires faith. Faith in life, in the process, in yourself. There's a famous Buddhist story about a man crossing a river. He builds a raft, uses it to reach the other shore, but then refuses to let it go, carrying it on his back until he realizes, the raft was useful, but I don't need it anymore. That's how many things in life are. They were necessary, they helped, they supported, but if we keep carrying them when they're no longer needed, they only weigh us down. Non-attachment is a form of love. Love without fear, love without chains, love that trusts. And when you practice it, you discover something incredible. The more you let go, the lighter you walk. And the lighter you walk, the further you can go. This isn't about being perfect, it's about being willing. Willing to let go of what you no longer are. Willing to open to what's new. Willing to be yourself, here and now, without needing to cling to anything to feel whole. Because you already are, you just have to remember. Chapter 6. The Mind as an Ally. Buddhist Training. If there's one central teaching in Buddhism, it's this. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. What you believe, you live. The mind is the origin of suffering, but also the origin of liberation. And understanding this changes how you live completely. Most people believe their mind is fixed, something that just works on its own. They think they can't do much about their thoughts. They're just there, and we have to endure them. But Buddhism says otherwise. The mind can be trained, and that training is the path to inner peace. Why do we suffer so much? Because we believe everything we think, Because we identify with every judgment, fear, and story the mind creates. And the mind is very creative. It invents catastrophic futures, replays past mistakes, imagines what others think, compares, demands, blames, and all this happens inside us, unnoticed by anyone else, but the body feels it, the heart feels it, and our life is shaped by it. In Buddhism, training the mind isn't about silencing it or emptying it, it's about observing it without being dragged along. It's developing the ability to see a thought without turning it into a truth, to create space between what you think and what you do. That space is freedom. One of the most powerful tools for this is meditation. You don't need hours of silence or a mountain cave. Just sit, close your eyes, and observe your breath, your body, the thoughts that come and go without fighting them or clinging to them. Just watch. Over time, you start noticing patterns, how you react to certain memories, how your mind distracts you when something feels uncomfortable, how you return to the same ideas again and again, and that's where real change begins, because what you can see, you can transform. Buddhism teaches that 3 mental poisons keep us trapped: uncontrolled desire, chasing what we think will make us happy; constant rejection, fighting what we don't want to face; ignorance, not seeing things as they are. These poisons don't disappear on their own. We must work with them, patiently, disciplined, lovingly. Training the mind also means cultivating qualities, not just ending suffering, but generating healthy mental states like gratitude, compassion, equanimity, and wisdom. And that doesn't happen by accident. It's cultivated like a muscle, like an art. A key Buddhist term is samadhi, deep concentration or mental clarity. It's not just focus, it's inhabiting the mind with stability, not being dragged by impulses, being able to respond instead of react. And that's trained day by day, moment by moment. There's also vipassana, insight, the ability to see the true nature of things. Everything changes. Nothing has a fixed self. Suffering can end. This insight doesn't come from books. It comes from looking within, observing honestly without judgment or fear. And the most beautiful part? This training isn't just for monks or sages. It's available to you now. Every time you choose to breathe before speaking, every time you decide not to believe a thought that hurts you, every time you observe your mind without identifying with it, you're training. You're freeing yourself. Making the mind an ally isn't a future goal, it's a daily practice, a decision, an act of self-love. Because when you care for your mind, you care for your entire life. And when your mind becomes clear, your heart opens, and then everything changes. Buddhism doesn't promise to eliminate all thoughts. It promises you can stop being their slave, that you can live in peace even amid chaos, that you can wake up from unconsciousness and live with lucidity, and that more than a philosophy is a form of freedom. Chapter 7. Suffering as a teacher of wisdom. For most people, suffering is an enemy, something to avoid, deny, or cover up. And that's normal. No one wants to suffer. No one wants loss, disappointment, illness, loneliness, or fear. But Buddhism offers a different perspective. It doesn't deny suffering. It embraces it, observes it, and transforms it into a teacher. The Buddha's first noble truth is clear: life contains suffering. It doesn't say life is only suffering, but it acknowledges that suffering exists, that it's part of being alive, that no one escapes it, not the rich, the wise, or the spiritual. At some point, we all feel pain, but the key is what we do with that pain. There's suffering that destroys, and suffering that awakens. The difference lies in the awareness with which we move through it. When we suffer without understanding, we feel like victims, filled with resentment, complaints, and unanswered questions. Why me? What did I do wrong? When will this end? But when we choose to look at suffering with attention, without running or resisting, something inside us begins to soften, to open, to understand. Pain has a strange way of breaking us, and in that break, it often shows us what we couldn't see before. It reveals how fragile we are, but also how strong, how brave, how essential. Suffering, when observed with love, becomes a school, one nobody chooses, but one that transforms us all. The Buddha didn't become enlightened because his life was perfect. He became enlightened because he understood the root of human suffering, because he faced it head-on, sitting under a tree, willing to see everything the mind hides. And in that deep surrender, he discovered something astonishing. Suffering isn't eternal. It has a cause, and if we understand that cause, we can free ourselves from it. That's revolutionary because it means we're not doomed to repeat our pains. We don't have to stay trapped in the same patterns. We can learn, grow, heal. Often the darkest moments of our lives push us toward awakening. A loss teaches us to appreciate. An illness teaches us to care for ourselves. A betrayal teaches us to let go. A fall teaches us to rise with new eyes. This doesn't mean we must be grateful for pain immediately or smile when everything hurts, but we can allow that pain to teach us, to cleanse us, to open us. In Buddhism, there's dukkha, the constant dissatisfaction we feel when things aren't as we want. But there's also prajna, the wisdom that arises when we move through that dukkha with compassion, when we don't get stuck in suffering but walk through it with open eyes. Here's something crucial. No one can do this for you. No one can live your process. No one can feel for you, but you can be inspired by those who've walked through their own shadows and emerged lighter, wiser, more awake. This isn't about romanticizing pain. It's about not wasting it, not letting it pass in vain. Because if you must cross a desert, do it with dignity, with presence, with the certainty that every step brings you closer to a deeper version of yourself. Suffering isn't the end. It's the threshold, the doorway to something new, truer, freer. And if you're in the middle of it, if you're going through a hard time, remember this: you're not alone, you're not the only one, and most of all, it's not in vain, because suffering, when lived with awareness, doesn't just hurt, it awakens, and in that awakening there's light. Chapter 8. Walking with Purpose. Living Consciously. There's a question that, though we don't always say it out loud, lives deep inside us. Why am I here? What's the point of all this? Why do I wake up, run, struggle, survive, without knowing where I'm going? Buddhism doesn't give you a fixed answer. It gives you something far more valuable. Tools to discover that answer for yourself through direct experience, through mindful awareness. Living with purpose doesn't mean having a grand goal or a cosmic mission to write in a book. It means being present in everything you do, putting intention into every step, choosing consciously, knowing why you do what you do, who it serves, what it builds, what it leaves behind. In Buddhism, there's the Noble Eightfold Path, 8 practices, that together guide a meaningful life. They're not rules or commandments. They're directions, like a map for those who choose to walk awake. And it all starts with right view, not seeing the world as we wish it were, but as it really is. Impermanent, changing, interconnected. Understanding this changes everything. You no longer seek to control or live from fear. You start to flow. Next comes right intention. Where do your actions come from? Ego, greed, compassion? What motivates your actions shapes your path. And if your intention comes from love, from the desire not to harm, to serve, then you're already walking with purpose. Right speech, right action, right livelihood. All point toward a coherent life, one where you don't betray yourself, where what you think, feel, and do align. And that, though it sounds simple, is revolutionary. Because in a world that lives in haste, that acts without thinking, that repeats empty routines, you choose to pause, to connect. Purpose in Buddhism isn't something you chase, it's something you embody. It's how you relate to each moment, how you respond to pain, joy, conflict, beauty. It's your way of being in the world, and you don't need to change the world. You need to change how you are in it. Living consciously means noticing how you speak, how you eat, how you look at others, how you treat your body, how you treat those who think differently, how you treat yourself. That awareness turns the ordinary into the sacred. A conversation, a plate of rice, a silence, all become opportunities to awaken. Yes, it's a path, one that never ends, where you sometimes fall back, doubt, or stumble. But every time you return to yourself, every time you choose consciously, you return to purpose. The Buddha didn't promise to remove the world's pain. He promised it's possible to free yourself from unnecessary suffering. If you walk with awareness, live with intention, make your life an act of presence. Walking with purpose also means serving, not from sacrifice, but from generosity. How? Can you ease others' suffering? How can you bring a little light? Sometimes it's a kind word, sometimes it's listening without interrupting, sometimes it's just not reacting from anger. Every gesture counts. Every choice builds your path. And here's where purpose becomes something alive, not a nice phrase on a wall, but your way of breathing, responding, being. And when you live this way, you discover something profound. You no longer need to run. You no longer need to prove anything, because you're already on the path, and that path is you. A conscious life isn't perfect or easy, but it's real. And in that reality, you find something no distraction can give you. Peace. Peace with yourself. Peace with your story. Peace with the world. The past does not define you. Every breath is a chance to begin again, lighter, wiser, and more alive than before. These 8 Buddhist lessons are your invitation to step out of regret and into the power of now. So take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And remember, your greatest transformation begins with a single mindful choice. If this video sparked something in you, hit like, share it with someone who needs this reminder, and subscribe for more wisdom to live with clarity and peace. The journey continues, one present moment at a time. Until next time, stay awake, stay open, and keep walking your path with courage. With gratitude, Daily Dharma.